So take some time to get settled into your seat or make any adjustments if you need to. And props are always so useful. So just being willing to sit up on a block or a blanket, a bolster if you need to, something that can ease the hips and support the low back. I've mentioned in the past, but I haven't mentioned in a while, is remember you can lie on your back. So if coming to a seated position and you're just not able to get comfortable, go ahead and roll onto your back, and then if we come up to standing or when we begin to move, you can just join us from there. So that's totally fine too. If we're really distracted by the physical body, it's hard to get centered. And that's what the beginning of the practice is all about, is just kind of checking in with ourselves and getting centered. And I'd like to kind of address a bit of what appears may have come into conversation yesterday. I missed it, and I'm sorry I missed it in the conscious conversation with Marilyn, is that teaching of RAIN, right? So the R, recognize, A, allow, I, investigate, and then nurture. And so right here, when we center, we are here to recognize what's coming up for us or who we are in this moment. So just placing your palms down, sitting nice and tall through the spine with a gentle, not overdo it, but gentle engagement of the core. Shoulders are relaxed away from the ear. So notice if there's any tension there. Just recognize that. Relax and release, releasing any facial muscles. And as we recognize who's here, we're doing so at many different levels. So we have the physical body to check in with, from head to toe, just recognizing any areas that need some extra attention. A couple of you have already mentioned hips and hamstrings this morning. And sometimes it is this physical body that's speaking to us a bit more than some of the other layers. Recognize that, honor it. For some of you, there may be stronger sensations in our energy body, pranamaya kosha. This contains our breath, the chakras and the nadis, so the subtle energies within us. And the breath plays and dances with those energies. So that energy may be a sense of tension just beneath your skin or tingling. There may be a chakra that is very obviously speaking to you that needs your attention. And this could be simply resting your attention through the breath today, with the breath. And we also have an opportunity to check in with the mental and emotional body, to recognize what's there. So there may be a thought that we're spinning around, something that we're concerned with. This may be an emotion or many emotions that we're feeling, right? It's like someone texted me after our last class when we were laughing so hard, and she wasn't sure whether she was laughing, crying, or even just wanted to scream in frustration and anger at life right now. So recognizing that, honoring those emotions, that they are such a big part of who we are and being human. And our mats are a very safe place to explore those emotions. We may be recognizing our desire to deepen the connection to our inner wisdom. There may be a sense of not being as connected as we like to, or maybe even just taking these first few minutes to center, you're connecting already with that inner wisdom, that inner teacher, that small, still voice that does require some stillness to hear. Once we recognize who we are and what's coming up for us today, Allow. Allow it to be there. Not a need to fix anything. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. Just softening and allowing to come up whatever comes up for you. As we move together today, I'm going to invite you to investigate each breath, each movement, each pose we come in and hold. Investigate what came up for you, and it might change. There might be something that grabs your attention physically in a pose, or there may be emotions that erupt in a certain pose. Investigate. Be curious as to what it's telling you. And our choices throughout the practice is where the nurturing comes in, the N of rain, right? Nurturing what comes up. So notice your self-talk and embrace a loving kindness towards yourself. Recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. That's our practice this morning, no matter what we're doing, what pose. Putting that practice into play here. Bring your palms together at your heart. Recognizing the choice you made to be here this morning for yourself. And to nurture. My intention is always to support you in your choices that nurture you today. Stay here for a moment, connecting in with your breath. And just silently to yourself, as you inhale, recognize you're inhaling. As you exhale, recognize that you're exhaling. Just feel your body breathing. Begin to lengthen it now to about an 85% of capacity. Evening the breath out. Release the hands, maintain the breath. Release the hands so the palms are up. Breath is extended and even. And then from here, I'll invite you into doubling the length of your exhale, so that you might even have to incorporate the Ujjayi pranayama, that gentle constriction in the back of the throat that enables you to control the breath a bit more and slow it down. And as you're emptying out, it's a letting go, just a letting go into your body, into this moment. So that request for a nice long exhale, just feel into that. And I'll come back to this off and on throughout the practice today. A couple more rounds here. And at the end of the next exhale, find your way back into an even breath and just notice what's arising right now. Recognize what you're feeling just for a few minutes of centering and breathing together. Notice and recognize the space you're in. You may want to stay here and just continue to breathe, and then join us when you're ready. These are the kind of choices you have the ability to make throughout the practice for yourself. For those of you ready to move, we'll go ahead and place our palms down on our thighs, maybe even the tips of the fingers, and exhale round the spine. And as you do so, draw the elbows wide, drop the head, rounding the upper back and tucking the tailbone. Press the hands into the thighs, lengthening the spine, lifting and opening the heart, drawing the shoulders back and elbows in, and taking the gaze up to the ceiling if that feels safe on your neck. Exhaling round. Take a couple of rounds here just with a nice even breath. Monday we did focus in between all the disruptions. We were focusing on the breath a lot, focusing on the lungs, and even though the air quality outside is poor, inside our homes it's fine. And so just remembering to deepen that breath. Let's go 3 more rounds, and for those of you who would like to extend that exhale, 3 rounds of lengthening and slowing down the out breath, taking your time as you round forward. And you'll come back up on the inhale, 2 more rounds. If you prefer to keep the breath at an even rate, you can do that. And the next time we find our way back up to our seated or nice straight spine, bring the arms by your side, palms face out. Imagine scooping up the healing energy from the earth, drawing that nurturing and nourishing energy all the way up. Palms face down as you exhale, and fill your every cell from the crown of your head down to your feet with all that beautiful energy. And you can imagine whatever it is that you need to take in. Okay? So you can tap into the elements of the earth or any other intention that you'd like to fill yourself with. Light and love, self-compassion. And then the next 3 rounds, I'll give you the option again to double that exhale, just really slowing that down, just feeling all that nurturance filling you up. Every cell, every part of your being. And at the completion of that 3rd exhale, again, just pause and feel. Part of the reason we take this time to stop for a moment and just and feel into the results of the choices we're making is to recognize not only what we're feeling, because sometimes it can be very subtle. It's also to recognize in what little time it took to just feel centered or grounded again, to feel more calm or peaceful, or to be more in tune with who we are or what we need for our day. Right? 10, 15 minutes. So from our seated position, let's go ahead and roll onto our backs. And for now, let's go ahead and not have anything placed underneath our heads. Do have a strap nearby though. Just make sure that's available when we need it. So arms by your side, palms down. Okay. So before we get into the hips and hamstrings, I really want to take care of our low backs and sacrum. And then we'll start to move into the hips and hammies. But we really want to protect our backs and kind of loosen everything up down there. So let's start with our hip hikers or sliders. So just alternately sliding one hip up to the shoulder and then the other. And pay attention to what's going on with the knees, making sure that they might be moving in a scissor motion towards you and away. The movement remains small though, and the knees do not sway side to side. Okay, they're not meant. This is not meant to be really big movement. Very subtle, mindful movements to the sacrum and low back. And then bring that to center. Press into the right foot as you point the right hip bone up to the ceiling, and bring that back down. Hip pointers, left foot, left hip. Opposite buttock stays on the floor. Same movement with the knees. Pushing whatever foot you're pressing into, that knee is pressing away from you, but not off to the side. Now, as we came into these smaller movements, come back into your breath. It most likely kind of dissipated a bit, or you didn't have that nice, long, even breathing. So even in these small movements, we want to maintain that breath. And then let's just take 3 or 4 breaths to alternate between these two. So we can do a few hip hikers. and hip pointers. Just go back and forth here for 3 or 4 breaths. Nice, slow, even breathing. And after that, just come into stillness, come into neutral. Notice the sensations. And then let's go ahead and come into our pelvic tilt. So tucking under, low back, presses into the floor, reverse that, and anterior tilt, create a little back bend. Back and forth, pelvic tilts. And then go ahead and find neutral. Take your feet out as wide as your mat. Open the arms wide. And on an exhale, release the knees to one side. So our double knee drop, this is really nice for the outer hip, IT band. The inhale just brings the top knee open. Now we get into the inner thigh and the groin. Bottom knee eventually follows. And exhale, and the knees drop to the other side. Right, so inhaling, open. Exhaling, release into that twist. Warming up the hips, hip flexors, outer hips, IT band. And it's an opportunity for you to recognize what's coming up here for you. Where do you feel the tightness? Again, it's not about fixing it per se. Okay, we hope that things will improve if there is a tightness, but it's also about allowing. To me, that's a softening into what is. And we can investigate it. You can just be curious about, what's that about? What's coming up there? What would serve me in taking care of this today? Right, and that's the choice of nurturing. Go a few more rounds side to side, and you're welcome to get the head involved if you'd like to, rotating it in the opposite direction of the knees. And when you've gone equally side to side, bring the knees back up to center. And let's go ahead and take a hold of our straps and place them around, start with our left foot today, just to give it the first chance. Left leg. So this is just, again, to recognize how our hamstrings are feeling, to invite them gently into the practice. We'll come into some deeper stretches later on in the practice. So for now, just find a soft bend at the knees, at the knee. Now, some of you may have such mobility in your hamstrings that's not necessary, but really just finding a soft stretch here, flexing the foot. Let the hands slide down the strap so that the shoulders and the upper arms relax. Thigh bone is perpendicular to the floor, and take the pelvis into that anterior tip. So you're trying to create a little bit of a space between the lumbar spine and the floor. And that's going to safely lengthen where the hamstring attaches into the glute. And find that nice even breath here. Moderate to gentle stretch. And I'll invite you into the extension of the exhale if you're really enjoying that today. So inhaling, and then double the length of your exhale. And again, just putting into practice the teachings of RAIN. Recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. We'll stay for 3 more breaths. And for those of you who would like to, go ahead and extend your right leg out along the floor. And with that anterior tip of the pelvis, we're attempting to get the back of that right thigh as close as you can to your mat. Press out through both heels, feet are flexed. Continue to breathe. Continue to keep the stretch at a minimal edge. We'll deepen it in a bit. Let's go ahead and grab both ends of the strap with your right hand. If you need to, it's kind of nice for balance. You can extend your left arm out and press it into the floor. I always run out of room in my wall here, but you can press your palm into the floor. And then we're going to go ahead and draw that left leg across the body to the right. So it's a bit of a twist. And once again, I'm going to encourage you to keep this very minimal. You're going to feel this stretch most likely through the outer hip, all the way through the IT band, which comes all the way down just below the knee. All of this affects our hips. So just breathe into this minimal stretch. Three more breaths here, doubling the exhale if you choose. At the completion of that third exhale, bring the leg back upright. Remove the strap and extend that leg out along the floor next to the right. Shake that out a little bit. And place the right foot in the floor and the strap, left foot in the floor and the strap around the right foot. Once again, starting with a minimal stretch, slide the hands down the strap, upper arms rest on the floor, shoulders relaxed. Maybe the knee has to be slightly bent or even more so. We're keeping the thigh perpendicular to the hip, to the floor, straight up and down. Okay, it's not pulled in towards you. Right? Find that anterior tip of the pelvis. Right? And for some who have particularly tight hamstrings, that may mean you actually bring your leg farther away from you. Okay, so I just want to make sure you know that's an option too. We're just not trying to pull the leg into the nose or the knee to the nose. That's not the objective here. Okay, when we do that, without a doubt, the low back flattens into the floor in order to get that leg there. Really keep the pelvis neutral because that's what keeps the hamstring attachment into the glute safe. Finding your breath. And for those of you who choose, you can extend that left leg along the floor. Try to anchor the back of that thigh, left thigh, or your left hamstring into your mat. You're going to find that more easily with that anterior tip of the pelvis. Maintain an even breath or lengthen your exhale if you're enjoying that today. Just take one more round of breath here. And then you're going to go ahead and take both ends of the strap in your left hand. Open the right arm out. You can even go palm down if that helps you feel more stable. And then start to draw that leg across the body. Just to the first point of stretch through that outer thigh, your IT band, into that outer hip. You might be feeling, I feel it also into my calf. Some of you are going to be able to go fairly far, and some of you are going to be like me, and within a couple inches, I really feel this. So the more you bring your leg away from you, it kind of takes that intensity out of it a bit. Let's take 3 more breaths here. After that third breath, go ahead and bring the leg back upright, remove the strap. I'm going to move that off to the side for now. Extend that right leg out along the floor next to the left, shake it out. And then go ahead and hug the knees into the chest. A little Apanasana, and then we're going to roll over and do a little more movement, create a little more heat, and we will come back to some deeper stretches. So inhale, arm lengths away, exhale towards you. That nice even breath, take your time. Keep the breath full and deep, but comfortable. And then from here, we'll take this into knee circles. And switch directions. And then maybe circle the knees out wide, a little bit into the inner thighs. Last little bit of movement here on our backs for now. And let's go ahead and roll to one side and find our way to hands and knees. We're going to play in our lunge for a little bit so that we continue to warm up in the hips. So that may mean if you have 2 blocks, you might like to have those nearby. Before we go there, however, let's go ahead and find our cat-cow. So exhaling round, inhaling open. This nice large movements through the full length of the spine. And then from here, a little Chakravarkasana. So we inhale to hands and knees and exhale back into child's pose. Just float back as far as it's comfortable for you. Inhale back up, hands and knees. Exhale back. And then again, on the next, let's do 3 more rounds. And if you're enjoying that extended exhale, this is a really beautiful place to apply it. Just very slowly dropping back into child's pose with that exhale. Inhale brings you back up. And then again, just taking your time, releasing back. 2 more rounds. And then the next time you find your way up, curl the toes under. Let's come into our first down dog this morning. Adho Mukha Svanasana, and pedal the feet. Just take it for a walk. And either from down dog or from hands and knees, we're going to bring the right foot up between our hands and bring the left knee to the floor. So low lunge, right foot forward. And then if you'd like to use your blocks, go ahead and place the blocks on either side of the right foot. And you have 3 heights. I just tend to like what I call level 2, but you have level 1, which is kind of a nice platform. Maybe that's enough lift. And then sometimes it's really fun to go to level 3 and just have that extra height. Okay, so I'll leave that up to you. All right, that willingness to be curious and play. And here, as we rock back and forth in our lunge rock, again, applying those teachings of rain. Just kind of recognize what's coming up for you. And this may be something really obvious in the physical body. And as I mentioned early on, this could be something emotional that starts to come up. That's really common on our mats and the yoga practice when we touch into our heart and what's coming up for us in our lives. So give yourself permission to allow that to occur. Investigate it and nurture. So go ahead and come forward into the low lunge. We're going to take the palm of our right hand to the outer part of our knee, and we're going to do our little kind of push-pull strength stretch and kind of ignite and wake up that IT band. Maybe I'll face the other way so it's more visible. Right, so we're going to press the knee, rotate into the outer edge of that right foot. We're actively pressing the knee into the hand while it's trying to press it back. It's really working hard to get here. And then reverse that and come back to center. And again, it's working to come back to center. So we're pressing the hand into the knee, knee into the hand, just 3 to 4 rounds here. And then on that 4th round, go ahead and open into a bit of a hip stretch. All right, so we're going to open wide. I have a little bit of support, a little bit of resistance on the knee. As I'm opening and rolling to the outer edge of that right foot, and just feeling that stretch. I feel it through the groin, and I'm going to feel it through the outer hip and the IT band a bit. Keep the breath steady, 2 more breaths here. And then we'll bring that back to center. Go ahead and rock back, straightening that front leg or moving towards that. Some of you will go perfectly straight and others will need to keep the knee bent. We're coming into a hamstring stretch. And you can keep the hands forward on the blocks if you'd like to. I'm going to throw out a lot of options here. You can keep the foot flat on the floor or bring the toes up off the floor. That simply moves the stretch more through the calf and the back of the knee. All right, from here, you can find your pelvis if you tuck under. Now I'm shortening that hamstring attachment, so we really want to find that lengthening of the spine. Reach forward with the heart, anteriorly tip the pelvis. It's going to bring it more into a neutral position rather than rounded. And then the other option you have is to start to walk the blocks back if you prefer. Instead of reaching forward, maybe it would feel better to come back with the blocks. All right. And just breathe here. You can stay with an even breath or extend that exhale again. And then bring the blocks forward, bend into that right knee, okay? And we're gonna press back into down dog. Walk that out a bit. And then either from down dog or come to your knees first, step your left foot forward, okay? Right knee comes into the floor. So I'm going to switch sides again just so this side's visible. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and start with our rock. So just back and forth here. Exhale back, inhale forward again. Recognize, allow, investigate with just gentle curiosity and nurture what's coming up for you. Practicing kindness and compassion towards ourselves. And then we'll find a neutral position. Place the palm of your left hand in your left knee, outer left knee. And again, just 4 rounds. Actively press the knee in the hand while it resists, and vice versa as it comes back. So you're really working to open the knee out and bring it back. And then after 4 rounds, we're going to come in and hold in an active stretch. So it's just a moderate to light pressure. I'm not really pushing hard on the knee, but there is a little bit of resistance. I'm just really waking up that IT band and hip, my groin, I'm feeling in my groin too. Inner thigh, breathe. Two more breaths here. And then bring that back to center. And then we're going to draw back, straightening or moving towards straight. All the same options apply here. So some of you may have to have the knee bent. Instead of rounding the spine, please lengthen and find that anterior tip of the pelvis. Okay. Then you have the option to bring the toes up off the floor if you want to. Feel the stretch move into the calf. That's too intense, or you prefer to have the foot flat, that's fine. And then the next option, you can bring the blocks back with you if you enjoy that more.
Did we lose her?
I'm still here. Take a couple more breaths here. And then we'll bend into that front knee, remove the blocks, and press back into down dog, walk that out. Go ahead and come to both knees and exhale back into a child's pose. So if we can use this blanket to tuck behind the knees if you have sensitive knees in child's pose. That still may not be enough and you can come onto your belly, but if that's helpful, you can drop back. Another option too is to take a block in between the legs, like tucking that back. It just gives a little height and it's not as much compression on the knees. And then you can take a block, a second block, or if you have a fascia wall, I actually like to do both. And I rest my third eye here. It's kind of nice. Just doesn't feel quite as much pressure on the knees. We'll just breathe here. We're not going to stay here really long. Just take a moment here and breathe. Feel the practice so far. And again, that practice of rain. Recognize what's coming up for you. Allow it. Investigate it. And nurture. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And then we'll go ahead and come on up. Move the props off to the side. I'd like to just do a little bit of our mini flow. And then we're going to come into a couple more deeper stretches with the hamstrings and the hips. Okay? So from hands and knees, let's exhale into down dog. And inhale to hands and knees. And exhale, child's pose. Inhale, back up to hands and knees. If you'd like to add on and move forward with the heart, you can do that. Curl the toes under. Exhale, down dog. So we're just alternating between inhaling to the knees and exhaling each time we come into child's pose and down dog. And this is also a fun place to play with that extended exhale if you choose. Really taking your time twice as long to drop into or find down dog and child's pose with that extended exhale. So it's a fun way to play in our practice when we change up our breath pattern like that. One of the things it does is to help quiet our very busy minds down when we have to give it something to think about like that. Let's go ahead and awaken our side body a little bit, just kind of add on to this flow. So the next time that you come out of a child's pose, if it's available, go ahead and inhale up, reach up, and exhale to one side. Inhale back up, and exhale to the other side. Inhale back up. Exhale, release. Bring the arms down by your side as you find your way into child's pose, or even just simply hands and knees if you want, and then slide the arms forward. It's just easier on the back. Inhaling hands and knees or modified up dog. Exhale, down dog. Inhale back to knees. And exhale back into child's. Reach up from here, inhaling. Exhale to one side. Inhale back up. And exhale to the other side. Inhale. Exhale, lower. And just go one more round on your own, at your own pace. Wherever you are in your flow, go ahead and come on up to inhaling to our hands and knees. Exhale, down dog. Walk the feet forward about a foot, or even maybe even more. So we're going to narrow up our down dog here a bit. Okay. And then we're going to keep the left foot planted where it is, but step the right foot up. So it may come up to the front of your mat, and it may not, and that's okay. I'm going to fix myself on my clothing here. All right, and so from here, you can use a block. Okay, we're folding forward, we're getting into the hamstring here of the right leg, and we want to keep all 4 points of both feet in the floor. And so you do have the option here to raise the blocks. Of course, bend the front knee if you need to, if this is too intense. right? But we're folding and reaching forward. So the same thing with the pelvis here. We're just in a high lunge instead of a low lunge. Instead of rounding the low back, lengthen. Okay, and draw the navel to the spine and just fold over this front leg. You might be able to remove the blocks altogether. Right? But if you're up at level 3 with the blocks and you're still having to bend the knee slightly, just stay there. There's no need to take this further. Right? And just breathe here. So pyramid pose, Purvottanasana. At the completion of the next exhale, step your right foot back to meet where the left is. So again, it's a narrow down dog, really narrow down dog. Okay, just kind of walk or shake that out a little bit. And then we'll step our left foot forward. And just notice if you need to narrow your stance. So are you able to keep the back heel in the floor, or does it want to come up off the floor? If you narrow your stance, step that back foot forward a bit, that'll help you. Okay, so just notice what's coming up for you. Recognize the modifications that you might want to make. Okay, and again, maybe the blocks, and maybe on the other side, you didn't have to use blocks, but you have something going on this side in which you do. All right, so allowing, investigate, and nurture. And the nurturing is the willingness to modify wherever we need to. Once you've settled into your position, breathe. Right, nice flowing breath. Find that length in the spine. Tipping the pelvis, try not to round under. Lengthen that out. Let's take about 3 more breaths here. And then again, we'll remove the blocks. Press back into down dog. And this time, let's walk our feet all the way back to a regular down dog, our normal stance. Pedal the heels. We're going to come into a hip stretch. And I'm going to give you the options. So for those of you who have knee stuff going on, have sensitive knees for any reason, you're going to roll onto your backs for figure 4. I think most of you know that, but I will show it nonetheless. For those of you who have it available, we can come into pigeon pose. Draw that right knee forward. The right heel is by the left hip flexor. Okay, this is not advisable for a lot of people if you have any kind of knee stuff. All right, and then you can take a blanket, tuck it under that right cheek if you need to. And we're rolling forward, or folding forward, okay? If you flex that right foot, it does help the knee. Okay, so that's option 1 for those of you who have that available. Please choose carefully and wisely for yourself. Okay. The other option is to roll onto your back. Right ankle to the left knee. You can push the knee away from you, keeping the left foot in the floor. Or you can interlace the hands through the hole behind the left thigh and pick that whole figure four up off the floor. Flex the right foot, flex both feet actually. And then you can take your right elbow, pressing it into that right thigh. And breathe here, figure four. So we're going to stay with the breath. So I'll invite you to either remain at an equal length between the inhale and the exhale, or once again, an opportunity to double the exhale if that's feeling good to you this morning, okay? Tuning in, recognizing what you need, allow, investigate, and nurture with your choices. Wherever you're holding in this stretch, take another breath or two there. So from figure four, those of you in figure four might want to simply extend the legs out along the floor. From pigeon pose, you may want to go ahead and reach back with that right leg. This might feel really nice. Just kind of stretch that back to come out of the pose. And it might even feel good to come into a down dog and walk it out. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and find the other side. So if you're in down dog, you're going to bring the left knee forward. If you're on your back, you're going to bring the left ankle to the right knee. Okay. If you're in pigeon pose, the left heel is in alignment with the right hip flexor. And you're going to draw that back, and keep the pelvis square, use a blanket if you need to, and fold forward. From figure four, you can keep the right foot in the floor or pick it up. Right? So, and it doesn't have to be the same as you did on the other side. Recognize what's coming up for you on this side. Allow it. Investigate it. Just being curious, open, non-judgmental curiosity. And nurture with the choices that you make. Let's take about 2 to 3 more breaths here. And then we'll go ahead and release. So for those of you on your back, simply extend the legs along the floor and shake it out. From pigeon pose, very carefully Come out of that pose and extend the left leg behind you, and again, maybe walk it out in down dog a little bit if you need to. And after a few breaths, please join us on your back. So we're all on our backs. Bending the knees, feet parallel, arms by your side. We're going to keep the arms by our sides. Draw the shoulder blades underneath you, or shoulders underneath you, opening the heart. Head is neutral. And press into the feet as you slowly roll the spine up off the floor. We're going to start to move into our releases before coming into Shavasana. So as you press into the feet and roll the hips up, it's an inhale. And then we exhale, vertebrae by vertebrae. Roll back down. One more round. Open the arms wide, palms up, feet as wide as your mat. Let's find our way back into our double knee drop again, and just notice if anything has shifted. Exhaling, release the knees to one side. Inhaling, open wide. And then exhaling to the other side. Slowly with the breath. And once again, you're welcome to involve the head by simply rotating in the opposite direction the knees go. When you've gone equally side to side, bring the knees back up to neutral. Back up to center, feet are parallel, and hip width apart. You can leave the arms out wide if that's feeling good to you, or bring them closer to your side as we find our way back to our hip hikers or sliders. Again, just as we come back to these same movements we began with, just noticing if there's anything shifted, noticing from a place of non-judgment. And then from there, bring that to center, hip pointers. And then alternate between those two. And then let's go ahead and find Shavasana, extending the legs out along the floor. If you'd like to place a blanket underneath your knees or underneath your head, really supportive. So right here, recognize how the body's feeling here on the floor.
And if there's anything that you can do, you can allow it. If it's going to distract you, right? So investigate that, then maybe be willing to nurture by using props. Once you've settled into the position that's most comfortable for you, bring your awareness into your breath. For a moment here, we're simply going to follow the natural rhythm of our breathing without shaping it. Almost a sense of stepping outside yourself, looking down and observing your body breathing. From here, let's begin to even the breath out, counting silently to yourself. Inhale 4, exhale 4. Feel the chest rise, the belly expand. Inhaling 4, exhaling 4. Now, if it's comfortable for you to hold the breath, I'm going to invite you to hold after inhale for a 2 count. Right, so these counts are approximately 1 second. So inhale 4, hold 2, exhale 4, and then move right into the inhale. From here, if this serves you, we will double the exhale. So inhale 4, hold 2, exhale 8. You can stay at 4 and 4 with no hold, or maybe it's inhale 4, exhale 8 with no hold. Or you could do 4, 2, 4. So here you have your choice and what's going to nurture you here in this moment. completion of the next exhale, allow the breath to find its own rhythm. Just release any shaping. Recognize what's coming up for you now. Recognize who's entering the day. Begin to slowly wiggle some fingers and toes. It might even feel good to stretch overhead. And within the next couple of breaths, find your way to one side, just roll to one side. And then from there, rolling up into a seated position. Once you've found your seated position, just place one hand on your heart, the other on top. Just breathe here for a moment into your heart. As you recognize the person entering the day today and what she may need, allowing your choices to align with her and to nurture. Allow your choices to nurture that person throughout the day. Extending that loving kindness to yourself. Fill your cup and then share. Taking a moment to recognize what that might look like or feel like today. Take a moment to honor and recognize the choice you made to be here today for you. Already filling your cup, or at least beginning to fill it. If you need more, may you be willing to honor that today. Palms together.
Anjali Mudra. I thank you for allowing me to take the seat of teacher once again. Namaste.